Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's Master of Ceremonies, CEO of Students for Liberty, Wolf von Laer.
Welcome everyone to the 10th year's anniversary of the International Students for Liberty Conference. My name is Wolf von Laer and I'm the new Chief Executive Officer since August last year. It has been 10 years since we organized our first event. Can you believe it? 10 years ago, a handful of students, young, idealistic, came together and decided we needed to do something to bring people on campus together, libertarians, in order to spread the ideas of liberty. They did not know how it will end up. Little did they know to what size this organization will grow. They organized for the first time in 2007 a conference at Columbia University. It was the worst possible circumstances. There was a blizzard going on, people were canceling flights, but nevertheless, the ideas of liberty are stronger than a blizzard. Over 100 people showed up there at Columbia University that day, and they realized we need an organization to facilitate this growth here in the United States. Now, 10 years later, Students for Liberty has a budget of $3.9 million. We have an impact. We have an impact not only in this country, but all around the world. Since 2008, and we will see the numbers here shortly, we have trained, to 2016, 3,681 leaders. This doesn't include the present year. We organized 242 conferences all around the world. We had close to 50,000 attendees. Numbers, they're fun, right? Every organization reports on them, shows the impact this way. This evening is dedicated to show you what this means, what is behind these numbers. We are changing lives for the better because we empower the next generation of leaders of liberty, and we are unique in that. You will see tonight several students talking about their experiences, what they have learned through Students for Liberty, what kind of impact they had. It is about spreading the ideas and developing young individuals. And I would like to give you like one data point, my personal story. In June 2016, Sloane called me. She's the chairwoman of our board, Sloane Frost, and she told me that after 6 interviews that the board of directors decided that I'm to become the new Chief Executive Officer of Students for Liberty. Once I hung up with Sloane, I became very emotional. I became very emotional because I thought back to 2009 when I went to the United States for the first time. I grew up in a small town with 1,000 people next to the Netherlands border. I wasn't able to speak English fluently until that year, until I took intensive language classes here 10 miles away from here in Silver Springs, Maryland. At that time, my aunt who lives here, she introduced me to people who work in this city, PhDs from Columbia and from Germany. I was hanging out with them and I was looking up to them and I was thinking, I would never be in a situation where somebody would get me a visa to work in this country because they see the value that I produce. When Sloane and I hung up, I realized that I'm now in that position, that I will move to the United States, that I will work for an organization that has changed my life and do something deeply, deeply meaningful to me. I've realized how much I've grown as an individual, as a libertarian, and as a leader. That made me very emotional, and I can honestly say that most of the skills that I have today, as limited as they might be, I'm still young and I'm learning a lot, are due to Students for Liberty. Most parents tell their children what to do. University tells students what to do. Students for Liberty is different. We go to students and help them achieve the goals they want to achieve as long as it spreads the ideas of liberty. I started as a volunteer in 2011. That was the first time Students for Liberty went abroad. We started here in America. 2011 was the experiment to see, are there libertarians anywhere else in the world? there sure were. I found myself in 2011 in the Institute of Economic Affairs discussing with great leaders like Alexander McCobin, Frederick Röder, who's our Chief Financial Officer now, and also Gabriel, now McCobin, at the IEA. We discussed the future of liberty. And these individuals had so much more knowledge than I had. They knew so many more people in the movement. They knew what they wanted to do. I experienced training that was utterly professional and was just blowing me away. And I felt quite intimidated by these individuals. But I also realized that's the room where I want to be in. I want to surround myself with people who know more than I do, that do greater things than I did. And I quickly realized that I could also contribute. Students for Liberty gave me the training and the trust to start my own program. So in my first year, I raised over 50,000 euros to start the first training program in Europe, where we trained over 20 leaders from all around Europe. That program still exists today, and now we're training over 300 in Europe. I later became the chairperson and organized an event with 300 people, and that I all did in my early 20s. I did not know anyone else, non-libertarians, people at my university who were doing something very similar or anything like remotely to that. But Students for Liberty trusted me, and I gained many of these experiences. Getting the visa in September made me realize how much I have grown and how much SFL has changed my life. So now, if you look at these numbers, think about all the individuals behind that we train in this country, in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, in Latin America, and in Oceania, all around the world. We are in over 100 countries, and these individuals are passionate for the ideas, and they're passionate because they join a community of people who want to change the world. So, I cannot imagine doing anything more meaningful than serving this organization to enable young people to have the same kind of experience that I had. I'm much more comfortable in where I am, I'm confident in where the organization is, and I want to grow its impact. Tomorrow morning, we will talk about the vision of Students for Liberty and plans that we have, reaching out to Ivy League universities, the top 50 schools in this country who need the ideas the most, as well as to historical black colleges and universities. We will talk about many of these things, and I invite you to join us. Please listen to these students that will receive tonight's awards. They stand for thousands of others, literally. And these students are changing the world. Remember, over a dozen of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence were below 35 years old. Young people are changing campuses right now, and they're affecting the future for liberty. We're producing many leaders who are now have think tanks, businesses, academics, journalists, in all kinds of professions. They're affecting change continuously. You all make this possible as friends, investors, and just supporters of our movement. So, I raise my glass in respect and deep gratitude for everything that you do, and thank you for this. Have a wonderful night. Clapping and... Now, I would like to introduce someone who knows our work very well, who has spoken in front of thousands of students in this country, in Europe, and all around the world. He met Kibbe, and his wife, Terry Kibbe, have been supporters for many, many years. Yes, give a round of applause. And they've seen our work up close. So please welcome the best-selling author, leader of the Free the People organization, and beer connoisseur, Matt Kibbe.
One of the most awesome things about hanging out with the Students for Liberty is that I'm constantly reminded just how old I am. I am so old that I remember the days when we got knowledge from these boxes of paper. We called them books. Do you guys remember these days? I'm so old that I got my music in these vinyl discs. We called them records. We got our information from a guy who would show up on the evening news and tell us that's the way it is. I'm so old that when I was 18 years old, I thought I was the only libertarian in the world. I thought libertarianism was this ancient philosophy that you would read about in an Ayn Rand novel. And I'm also so old that I remember when International Students for Liberty was just a couple dozen kids trying to change the world. Some of you guys remember this, right? But every year you come back and the crowd gets bigger and the energy gets higher and the quality of the students and their ability to change the world, you get an optimism. So even an old guy like me realizes that something is different and that International Students for Liberty has been the catalyst for creating a generational shift, a paradigm change that makes me optimistic about the future of liberty. So what do we do with all this? I've spoken to Students for Liberty in Europe. I've spoken to Students for Liberty here. I think we're at the cusp of something special. And I got to thank Alex and now Wolf for being willing to take that risk, being willing to know that changing the world is not only possible, it's inevitable if we all do this together. And Students for Liberty is leading the way. I hope you guys will consider, I see some investors out there, you want to bet on the future? Bet on these guys. Beer is freedom, and Students for Liberty is the future. A toast to Alex and Wolf and the Students for Liberty.
Thank you so much, Matt. Now, I would like to introduce someone who has changed this organization so much. She has been a volunteer from the very first hour. She is the chairwoman of our board. She is a donor. She is a friend. She created actually the culture of Students for Liberty. I remember when Sloane came to me the first time here at the International Students for Liberty conference. It was my first time as a volunteer in the States, and I was meeting tons of different people. And as a good German, I came to her and wanted to shake her hand. And she said, like, no. And she gave me a huge hug. And from that point onwards, not only I called her this, but everyone called her Mama Forst. Please welcome with me Sloane Forst to announce the awards today.
How could you not hug that man? Thank you so much, Wolf, and thank you, Matt, for your kind words. It was very sweet. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to add my welcome to all of the students and alumni in the room this evening. It's wonderful to see you all at our 10th ISFLC. I know I can't quite echo the sentiments of Matt, but I feel old, having been 10. And I'd like to illustrate that for a moment by asking you all to raise your hand if it's your first international SFL conference. Wow, welcome. Glad to have all of you. And if you've been to 2 or more conferences, could you please raise your hand? Wonderful. Oh, wow. All right, keep them up, keep them up. Simon says. All right. All right, now you can put them down if you've only been to 2. All right. Keep them down if you've only been to 3. Or excuse me, put them down if you've only been to 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all 10 international SFL conferences. I can't quite see all of you, but I think I know whose hands were up, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being here from the get-go. It truly means a lot. As you know, a lot can happen in 10 years. After all, this time 10 years ago, the Patriots had just lost the Super Bowl. Go Pack. When we first started SFL, there were amazing groups doing pro-liberty work all over the world, but there wasn't a student-run network for students and by students. In fact, many of us still felt alone on campuses. But today, because of the hard work of many of you in this room, that's changed. We owe a lot to those who got us started. To the Smith Family Foundation for giving us our first regional conference grant. To Cato for in-kinding us a desk where Clark, our first employee, could sit even when we couldn't pay him. To folks like Nigel Ashford, David Bowes, Tyler Cowan, Joe Kwong, Jim Lark, Tom Palmer, and Eugene Volek, who trusted us with their time and reputation for only God knows why to be on our first board of advisors. Thank you to all. SFL is what it is today because of those who came before us, because of those who helped start us on the right path, and we thank you so much for that. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge what a wonderful job Wolf has done. He's had big shoes to fill with Alexander's leadership, so thank you to Wolf, and we look forward to another 10 years of wonderful leadership. Well, there are many new faces here tonight, and I'm thrilled to have all of you. There's a lot of excitement. There are also many who cannot join us. SFL has been blessed over the years to work with talented students, and it's always a tremendous loss when a student passes away. This is the hardest part every year. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember their achievements and their beautiful souls. With memories of those who came before us and all that is left to do, tonight we celebrate the hard work of our 2016 activism, the next generation of leaders for liberty, who are showing us day in and day out what it means to be an advocate. We begin with a new award this year for Artist of the Year. The ISFLC Amaji Art Exhibit showcases the many talented activists in SFL's network. Entries were judged by a panel on creativity, originality, quality, design, and impression of their art. The winning entry, which we will show in a moment, is the short film Munitionnettes by Lara Cochetel. After receiving an official letter announcing the death of their husbands on the battlefield, the women workers of a bomb factory decided to make their own kind of revolution. It is a short film encouraging people to take control of their own lives and make their own decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2017 Artist of the Year. And we also have a special announcement to make. Rodrigo Figueredo, one of the Amaji art judges, donated Simon Bolivar in a gas mask to auction at the International Conference. This piece depicts the Venezuelan Libertador wearing a symbol of repression, paying tribute to the civil upheaval and student-inspired protests of 2014. Now, Rodrigo is actually an exiled artist from Venezuela living in Italy right now. His work is notable for depicting resistance against the Maduro regime, and his iconic painting, Batalla, is inspired by and became a meme for the protest movement. In fact, it was also covered by and printed by the BBC. The auction ends tonight at midnight, so for those of you who have not already seen the painting or gotten involved, I'd invite you after our reception to view it in the back of the room. Next award of the night is for Student Group of the Year. Up first, we have Students for Liberty Korea. SFL Korea ran the first ever SFL conference in Korea this past year, which included 80 people. They ran 3 fora on Marx, Menger, Mises, and the Austrian business cycle theory, and I'm told even us Chicago school folks would be okay to attend. And they are translating many important works into Korean, which you can learn more about by talking with these amazing students who are here with us this weekend. Our next nominee is the Montenegrin Students for Liberty. They also organize an SFL regional conference in Podgorica for nearly 100 students. And they've assembled their own Academy of Liberalism to educate students in classical liberal ideas. And our final nominee is the Hyderabad Students for Liberty. They hosted the first ever Hyderabad SFL regional conference, which brought more than 100 students. They organized 4 colloquia for 50 students, and leaders from Hyderabad SFL participated in protests of the WHO's Tobacco Control Convention. And the winner is, oh, I like the drum roll, the Hyderabad Students for Liberty. Now, I think you all have heard about some of the travel issues folks have, and they're unable to make it this evening, but we do have a recording from the award winners.
Good evening, everyone. It fills my heart with pleasure and honor to have won the Student Group of the Year award. This award will inspire not just leaders in Hyderabad, but also across South Asia. Our journey began 2 years ago at the South Asia Students for Liberty Conference, a congregation of young individuals and seasoned libertarians from across India and the world, an experience that truly galvanized the student movement for liberty in India. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank Students for Liberty for its consistent and endearing support throughout our journey and for providing us a platform that empowered every leader in the South Asia region. Here's what a couple of our leaders from Hyderabad would like to say about SFL.
SFL has been a key part of my all-round development in my student life and made me aware of the essentiality of a free society and the impact we as individuals make in it.
SFL inculcated a critical analysis ability on socio-economic issues and also to find suitable solutions which are apt and applicable in our society. It also helped me to think in a much different aspect to what I was thinking earlier.
By far, SFL has been the most amazing learning experiences I've ever had. We love SFL forever.
SFL has been one of the major changes of my life because it introduced me to people and situations that made me see life in a different perspective.
SFL instilled confidence in me to shape my own life as a free individual and also influence others around me in order to promote liberty. It provided me with platform to set goals and achieve targets to establish freer society.
I'd like to dedicate this award to everyone who was and is a part of Hyderabad Students for Liberty. I had the privilege of working with a group of talented and dedicated individuals whose efforts spearheaded the student movement for liberty in Hyderabad. The beauty of the libertarian movement is that it transcends age, geography, religion, race, caste, nationality, gender, sexuality, and other such barriers, and it inspires us to consistently work together to achieve a freer and better world. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Energy and persistence conquer all things." Thank you and have a great night.
Our second award of the evening is for the event of the year. The first nominee for event of the year, I do PowerPoint for a living, I can't. There we go. Our first nominee is Open Festival, which is the largest European festival of liberty. It's a 3-day festival with over 2,000 participants. They had 30 speakers, including Tom Palmer, Vitya Lika, and Mustafa Ekol, who some of you have met this weekend. They also had over 100 media hits covering the festival. Our second nominee of the evening is the Simposio Interdisciplinar Farroupilha. It was the third annual event for the symposium for the Club Farroupilha, which is the largest group in SFL Brazil's network. They had over yeah, okay. We don't follow order in the libertarian community. They had over 700 people attend the symposium, and the event was covered by local media, and even afterwards, the mayor of the host city, Santa Maria, said he would seek to better understand how libertarian ideas could help the city. Our final nominee is the Principles and Foundations of Free Societies. This was a tour of 10 events at 10 universities throughout Burundi. Participating students were given a copy of Ideas for Free Society, which is a CD collection from the Atlas Network, a network for free society. Students then presented their best case for the principles and foundations that are necessary for a free society. These arguments were judged and prizes were awarded to the winning participants. And the winner is, you guys are good, Open Festival.
Hello, everyone. Obviously, you know I'm not Bosnian, but I do accept this on behalf of the Multi Association and our national coordinator, Admir Kavalic, who is back home in Bosnia, unfortunately, who could not join us. But we were there at the very beginning when they hatched the idea of the Open Fest. They were able to raise their own money for it, have many of you as speakers, and it became the largest festival in Europe. So we accept this on behalf of Multi and to the Bosnian team.
And our final, most coveted award of the evening is for the Student of the Year. The first nominee for Student of the Year is Imantaha Nugraha. He is the co-founder and president of SFL Indonesia. He helped organize the first ever SFL Southeast Asia Conference in India last year, which you heard referenced earlier this evening. He's spoken at events throughout Indonesia and all over the world on topics such as Uber and creative destruction, religious freedom, and efficiencies of state-owned enterprises, and using property rights to address climate change. Our next nominee is Ethan Pritchard. Now, if you're part of SFL in the US, which I imagine some of those folks are, you've probably heard of Ethan's name before. He's featured all over the news here in the US. He's the president of the College Park Students for Liberty. He built 2 large groups from scratch. He's reached over 1,000 students through on-the-ground campus outreach. And he organized a campus summit on free speech with more than 75 attendees, which he's told me he plans to host again next year. Our final nominee is Amabo Manirakiza. He's the founder of SFL Burundi. And let me tell you, it's not easy for him to do what he does. He's helped set up 10 SFL groups throughout Burundi. He's also helped form SFL groups outside Burundi, including in Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. He organized a number of successful events, including Principles and Foundation of Free Societies, which was one of the Event of the Year nominees. And our winner this evening of the Student of the Year Award goes to Ethan Pritchard. Is that Ethan? So I actually I talked to Ethan this morning, and he was coming down with a stomach flu. I know. So he knows that he's won, so he's congratulated in spirit, and we'll have to hear from him at a later date. So for now, I have to say congratulations to all of our award winners, everyone who's done a wonderful job with all of their work and their activism throughout the world. In fact, there are many lessons that we've learned, not just from these activists this year, but over the last 10 years of SFL's existence. I wanted to share those lessons with you, but that would take a really long time. So maybe instead, I'll just share one of the most inspiring lessons I've learned, which is to never underestimate the power of young people and ideas together. We ran a conference, but you guys, you built a movement. We made new friends, but you made us family. From everyone who has worked on SFL to all of you who have helped make that happen, thank you so much for the countless ways that you've supported us. There aren't words enough to express all of my gratitude for the blood, sweat, and tears you've put in over the years to make liberty a real thing. It truly knows no borders. Please join me in raising a glass to this evening's award winners and our nominees, to those who paved the way and those who walk it forward. Congratulations. Cheers. And now we'll take a short break for dinner. Enjoy your meal, and we'll resume the programming shortly. Thank you.